Right, welcome everyone. Today we are going to be talking about the top 10 frequently asked questions about donor sperm. Um, Today, this will be recorded and we will be sending out copies of the recording after the webinar is completed. I am Doreen Bond. I'm the Client Services Manager here today. And we have Morgan Barker as our Marketing Director doing the moderating at the end for the frequently asked questions webinar today. So thank you so much for joining us. Again, we'll be sending out, this is being recorded. You are able to ask questions in the webinar and we'll be able to answer those at the end. We are going to go through a few things today. We are going to go through the most common questions. We're going to review the donor products. We're going to talk about the donor search, as well as explain the donor categories and our selection services, as well as discuss the resources that Fairfax Cryobank offers for our clients who are starting their donor journey. All right. The first question is, what does ID versus non-ID donors mean? So ID donors are donors who allow Fairfax to release identifying information to donor-conceived people upon request. No information is going to be provided to the recipients except for the donor-conceived individual once they've turned 18 and they're registered in our donor-conceived program. This is a program we started we started in March of 2020. We only began accepting ID donors. Previous to that, we did have non-ID donors. Non-ID donors did not agree to release any identifying information to any donor-conceived person. Beginning in January of 2020, non-ID donors are asked every year during their annual update if they would like to become an ID donor. They're going to remain as non-ID on the website, as that's how they were initially entered into our program. But if they do choose to have their identifying information released, that will be in the summary profile on the donor's profile. So when the DCP requests ID information at 18 plus years old, the process is going to be the same for those donors as it would be for our ID donors. So once you or your donor conceived person is 18, they are able to reach out to us to inquire about their donor's information if they are an ID donor. And again, if they're not an ID donor, if they're non-ID, they can check the donor's profile to determine if they have agreed for their information to be released. The frequently asked question 2, what can I see for free on the website versus paid? So we have a lot of information that's available for free. We have the childhood photo, the summary profile, which is a basic profile of everything available on the website or available for that donor. The staff impressions, which would be the impressions of the donor that our staff get when they are interacting with the donor. So this would be the lab staff who has the appointments with the donor. A donor essay where the donor would answer questions and write in their own words. That gives you a great peek into their personality as well as how they answer the question. It's a good way to get another connection with the donor by reading that. Audio clips from both the donor and the staff are for free. So you'll hear the donor answering questions as well as the staff providing their impression of the donor. The donor's medical profile and their genetic testing summary are always going to be free. And we do offer Fairfax Face Match, which is an online algorithm program where you would be able to upload a photo to the face match. And it would go through our donors to see which donor matched that. You could upload a photo of your partner, of yourself, of whomever you want to find a donor that matches. We do have additional products for purchase, such as the personal profile, the silhouette, which is going to be a blacked out side profile of the donor's face, adult photos, or lifetime series photos. Now, I will say not all donors provide that. But some of them do offer that, and that is a great way to see the donor. The Lifetime series shows from childhood to adulthood, so you can see the progression of the donor's characteristics. There's the full audio interview, which can be purchased, and the personality type. So we do have a discount code at the end of this webinar that can be used for a full access package where you'd be able to pay or use that code one price, and you'd be able to view all of the information on the website for 90 days. What do I need to consider when choosing a donor? So when you're getting started, you want to sit down and create a list of characteristics that you value and are important to you, such as the physical characteristics, what eye color, what hair color, the ethnic background, personality, whatever personality traits that you're looking for or that you find really important, education, the donor category. We have over 380 donors to choose from. So your list is going to help you start narrowing that item down from the hundreds of possibilities that we have available. Some important information to consider would be the donor brand codes, donor categories, and specimen type. We have 3 donor brands here. Pacific Reproductive Services is a cryobank we acquired from Pasadena, California, or from California. And those donors are notated on our website with a P or PRS. We have some donors from Cryogenic Laboratories, which is a laboratory out of Minnesota that we acquired as well. And we do have the Fairfax Cryobank donors, the standard. Well, the rest of the donors, not standard, but they all have the same quality standard. They just are slightly notated differently on the website. Is there a tool I can use to help me search for a donor based on a physical appearance? Yes. So we talked a little bit about the Fairfax Face Match. It's an interactive way for you to select your donor. It uses sophisticated mathematical technology to compare the shape of the facial features to find a resemblance between the photo that you upload and the adult photo of our donors. You are also able to pre-select preferred donor traits before uploading a photo. So if you upload a photo but you want to see only blonde donors or brunette donors, you'd be able to see that as well. So on the donor search page, you'd be able to click on Face Match. You'd select a photo that you have on your computer on your phone, upload it into the system so you can be compared to every adult photo. The results are going to be presented starting with the donor that most resembles the photo, and it's going to show from high, medium, and low match. High matches are infrequent. The donor photos do remain private. Our client services team does also offer donor selection services. We have the photo match. So that is where you would be able to do 2 options. You'd either narrow your choices to 8 donors or fewer and provide us with a photo. So perhaps I want my donor to look like Hugh Jackman, who's my favorite. I'd be able to send in photos of whomever, that or my partner, and also say these are the 4 donors or 8 donors that I'm looking at. Our team would be able to assist you with finding the donor that matches the photo that you sent in. You're also able to select, this is another option for the same program, you're able to select specific criteria that are most important to you, such as the ancestry, your preferred preparation type, the donor's height, weight, skin tone, eye and hair color, as well as any other characteristics that you feel are important. You will also provide a photo. So again, you could send in a photo and our team sits down and reviews all the information you provide to find what we believe would be the best match for you. We also have a donor selection consultation where you're able to call our client services team. We are all trained for an in-depth counseling service for patients who need assistance in selecting a donor. We'd work one-on-one with you over the phone to answer any questions regarding the donors that you have selected or are trying to narrow down. So those are the two selection services we have. What vial types are available to choose from? We have IUI premium vials, which are pre-washed with at least 10 million total motile cells. The seminal fluids was removed prior to freezing. One vial can be used for one procedure. We also have ICI premium vials. Those are not washed. They also have at least 10 million total motile cells. The seminal fluid was not removed prior to freezing. If your clinic is using it for an IUI procedure, they must have the capability of washing the specimen if used in that kind of procedure. One vial can be used for one procedure. We also have ART vials, ART vials. They are either washed or unwashed, IUI prepared or ICI prepared, with at least 6 million total motile cells. One vial could be used for an IVF procedure, or you are able to combine two vials for an in-office IUI or home insemination. The ICSI vials are generally used for an IVF procedure as well, but they can be used washed or unwashed, and they have at least 3 million total motile cells. I know that sounds super confusing, so the best option is to check with your clinic regarding which preparation type is going to be best for your specific insemination procedure. They will be able to recommend that, or we would be able to collaborate with them with the information you provide us to try to help you find the best vial for your insemination procedure. But I do always recommend that you talk to your medical professional. Can I do the insemination at home? The short answer is yes. So we are able to help with purchasing and shipping to a home for an insemination procedure. We have a really great webinar online as well that goes through that in depth. What you would want to do is contact client services to inquire if we are able to ship to your home address and what paperwork we'll need. We are able to ship in the US to home addresses. Internationally, that's a little bit different. We do generally work directly with a clinic. What vial type can I use when doing a home insemination? So we do have a recommendation for that. We'd recommend either one ICI premium vial, two ICI art vials, those could be combined for an insemination, one IUI, those are the washed premium vials, or two of the IUI art premium or vials that can be combined. We prefer or recommend the ICI premium, but again, we recommend talking with a clinic or a medical professional about that. What vial type should I use for an IUI procedure? So for an in-office insemination, an intrauterine insemination, we would generally recommend one IUI premium vial. You can also use the two IUI art vials combined for a IUI insemination. If your clinic does offer washing, you are able to use the ICI premium vial or the two ICI art vials. What vial type should I use for an ICI procedure? For the in-office insemination ICI procedure, again, we always recommend you talk to your clinic or your medical professional, but the general recommendation would be an ICI premium vial. You can also use two ICI art vials, one IUI premium, or two IUI art vials for an ICI procedure. What vial types can I use for an IVF or ICSI insemination? Excuse me. You can use IVF with or without ICSI. With ICSI, you could use an ICSI unwashed vial, an ICI art, or an ICI premium vial. Those are the unwashed samples that could be used for an IVF procedure. For an IVF those are with ICSI. Without ICSI, you could use one ICSI unwashed vial, one ICI art, or one ICI premium. We just recommend that you talk to your clinic to confirm what they're able to do. A lot of this will depend on whether or not they would be using washing for that sample for you or not. Bonus question would be, do you ship internationally? Yes, we do. We are able to ship internationally. If you have any questions about specific countries that we'd be shipping to, please email our international team at global@fairfaxcryobank.com. Also, what kind of monthly packages are available? That's a really great question. So we talked about this a little bit. We have the donor unlimited access packages. There's a lot of information that's for free on our website. That's fantastic. The access packages are basic and our full access, as well as our full access with Club Fairfax. All are for 90 days from the date of purchase. All information that you view on these access packages is going to be saved to your account and will remain available indefinitely. The best bang for your buck would be the Club Fairfax, in my opinion. You pay $4.99, and that does include 2 free shipping fees, which are $360 each for the overnight. So if you're planning on shipping multiple times or purchasing multiple vials, this would be the very best option for you. But if you're in the beginning process of just trying to find a donor and starting that search, I might recommend the full access package so that you can review all of the information on our website. The Club Fairfax option does include the full access. That's going to show all of the information on our website for those 90 days. All right, we have some great resources available on our website. We have our Fairfax blog where previous webinars are posted. We have our Fairfax newsletter that is sent out that includes sales and updates and suggestions and articles. We also have our Fairfax family forums on our website, and that is for clients to connect with each other. And we have private forums for those who have reported pregnancies or births from a donor. Once you're ready to choose your donor and place your order, you're now ready to start your journey. Our client services team representatives are available by phone, email, and we also have an email for our international team as well. The global at Fairfax Cryobank for our international team, our main email is info@fairfaxcryobank.com. We do also have representatives on live chat if you have questions, so we'd be able to answer that immediately as well. And we do have that promo code here for the FAQs webinar 2024. That's going to save the full price on the full unlimited access through September 14th of 2024. So you're able to enter that as a coupon when checking out the full access to view our information free for 90 days. I'm going to leave that up.
Awesome. Thank you, Dory. That was great. So we do have a couple questions rolling in. Don't forget to submit those into the webinar sort of panel there for questions or chat. We have a couple questions already coming in. Some folks were asking about what kind of psychological testing donors receive throughout the screening process.
Good question. We have a really great webinar on the donor screening process that goes really in depth to that. But we do a psychological evaluation on all potential donors. If they show any signs of psychopathy, I can't say that word, psychopathy, then they would not be able to proceed in our donor program. We are very strict about people we let in the donor program. Less than 1% of all applicants are actually approved and complete the donor program.
So we have someone who's based in Canada. They're based in Ottawa, and they want to know, is the first step to contact our clinic so they can tell her what the specs are for it?
The specs for the donor vials?
I'm assuming so. Yep, depending on the medical procedure decisions, I guess.
So yes, I'd probably recommend that you talk with your licensed medical professional clinic. We do have distributors that distribute our donor sperm in Canada. So the next step after that would be to reach out to Origin, Canem Cryo, or Canada Cryobank to work with them from purchasing our donor sperm.
So, what about home insemination for Canada?
You know what? That's a great question. I'm not completely sure of the regulations in Canada. I do know you'd have to reach out to the distributors there to confirm whether or not they're
Mhm.
able to ship to a home address.
Okay. We did have a question about what kind of donor limits there are per region. How do we limit that?
So we follow the ASRM guidelines for that, um, and we monitor the donor family limits. We have a family cap of 25 family units in the US. Now, a family unit could have more than one child, but we do monitor that on a regular basis with our team to make sure that we are not having donors too geographically close to each other, as well as we are capping the family limits.
Okay. Is there a limit to how many vials one donor can give?
That's a great question. No, there is not a limit for that per se. We do again monitor the family units and the geographic locations of where we're shipping that. We do also keep in mind the volume that's being produced of the donor. Generally, they sign a 6-month contract with us and can extend beyond that. Some donors just donate for that 6 months, and some are able to do it for a little bit longer as long as they are still under the family limit.
Hmm. All right. The next one here says our medical provider advised that we select several donors first before purchasing to do a genetic alignment. How would that work as far as acquiring the information to provide to our provider?
Great question. So all of the donors' genetic testing is available on the website for free download. That's always going to be free information. So you're able to download that as a PDF to send to your clinic or your medical professional for their review. The one thing I would advise though is our donor vials can sell out quickly. So I would call our client services team to see if you could put anything on hold if you are not ready to buy. We do also offer a buyback program if there's limited vials and we can't put anything on hold for you. That way, if you're not able to use that donor, you'd be able to either swap it for another donor or return that vial to us within the first 45 days if that donor is a carrier. And we'd be able to help you with that. Client services would.
We had a couple questions as well about the donor matching kind of services, and they're wondering is the counseling or consult service paid or free?
Great question. So the photo match is paid. The counseling service, it depends on if you want a full-blown consultation that lasts about an hour or if you just have a few questions. If you have a few questions, we're happy to answer that. If you want someone to specifically be on the phone with you for an hour reviewing everything, that would be a paid consultation fee.
Okay. Is there a fee to put something on hold for vials?
There is not a fee to put anything on hold, but as I said, I would encourage purchasing vials to ensure that they're yours because we have the program, like the buyback program, where vials can be sold back if they're not able to be used or if, as long as those vials never leave our facility.
Okay.
That's a great thing to utilize.
Can you just go into that into a bit more detail? Because we had a couple questions about the buyback program as well.
Sure, absolutely. So I generally recommend when purchasing that you purchase for the potential for family building for more than one child if you find the donor and you're able to do that, if you really find the donor that you like. Because our vials do sell so quickly, um, it really is the best way to ensure that that is the donor available for you. Once vials are purchased, they can be stored here at Fairfax, which I also recommend. We offer storage for $45 per month. But specifically for that buyback program, as long as the vials have never been shipped out of our facility, you're able to sell them back to us for at least 50% of the original purchase price. if you purchase vials and they're a genetic carrier and you find out within the first 45 days of purchasing that you're not able to use those donors due to a genetic trait, those donor vials, you're able to sell those back for the full price if they're a carrier um, within that first 45 days. So we check all that information with you, but that way you are able to purchase and either trade it for another donor or sell it back to us and not lose any money.
On average, how long does shipping take within the US?
We are able to ship very quickly within the US. We have overnight shipping or 2 business day shipping. We do only ship Monday through Friday and have it arrive Monday through Friday.
Okay. And then can you explain washed versus unwashed and what's recommended? What is do they want to know if it's recommended to have it washed for home insemination as well?
Okay, so that's a good question. I can't really answer what's the best recommendation for you. I do believe the preferred option is the ICI unwashed sample. That's like the more organic, the specimen's been frozen sample. The washing of the sample is where it would be removing the seminal fluid. So it's just the semen cells. That tends to be used for an IUI or intrauterine insemination procedure at a clinic. But either can be used for home insemination as they both have semen cells that can achieve a pregnancy.
And we have another question that wants to know about what type of vial that they recommend for embryo creation.
Okay, that I'd probably check with your clinic because I do believe that's more of an IVF type
Hmm.
procedure. Um, but any vial should be able to be used for an IVF procedure. Depends on your clinic though. Just confirm with them what their preference is.
Okay. How many, another question says, how long will it take for more vials to be collected from an active donor?
That is really going to depend on the donor. If they are still actively participating in our program, we would expect more vials to become available, and that would just be dependent on when they're released from an FDA 6-month quarantine period. So vials are created, blood work is created at that time as well. And what we're doing is we're confirming that there's no infectious disease for those specific samples. So they're held in an FDA required 6-month quarantine period. Once the 6 months is up and the donor's blood work is not positive for any infectious disease, then we're able to release those for sale.
Okay. Let's see. Please explain more about CMV and genetic testing for being a carrier for genetic diseases, etc.
Sure. So a lot of times clinics will have you review your genetic testing prior to anything being purchased so that you know what you're looking for to see if you're a carrier for something, you're going to want to purchase something, another donor that is, I can't talk today. You're going to want to purchase a donor that's not a carrier for the same trait that you are. Um, so that's something clinics check as well as they all often check the CMV status. CMV is cytomylovirus. I just butchered that. I apologize. Um, it's like a virus that most people interact with. So you're either CMV positive or CMV negative. You've never interacted with that. Um, it presents as like a common cold, so a lot of people interact with it and have no idea. But it is in the chickenpox family. But if you are CMV negative, you're going to want to continue to find a donor that's CMV negative. That's generally the recommendation. If you're CMV positive, you've already interacted with CMV, so you're able to purchase a positive or negative donor. Again, that's testing that's usually done with your clinic. But if you have questions about that, you can reach out to your medical professional.
Do people commonly consider our age factor when selecting a donor, similar to your previous question?
I believe that is a consideration, but I believe the genetics and tend to take the forefront as a consideration.
Mhm.
I'm not a medical professional, so I'm not sure how much the RH factor affects anything.
Can you select sperm based off intelligence?
That is a really great question. I don't really know the answer to that. I do know we have donors that have advanced degrees, and those are on our website as ID graduate donors. So they either have a doctorate or a master's, but an advanced degree other than an associate's degree.
And then we have another question here. Do you have any mixed sperm donors for African/Hispanic? And if not, is there a wait list we can be put on?
So we have a variety of donors on our website. I don't know off the top of my head if we have any mixed ethnicities like that that are available right now. But we are always adding new donors to our program, and we're always looking for a variety of ethnicities to join our program so that we have a bunch of options available. There's not a wait list per se, but you can always check our website to see what the new donors that have been added to our website. We add several donors. I think we're up to 20 or 30 every month to our website as new donors that are available for sale. So we're constantly updating the inventory.
And we have a couple of questions about donor recruitment and everything, what we go through for screening. What measures are taken to approve sperm donors, and are they paid?
Yes, our sperm donors are paid. As I said, we have a really great webinar about donor screening because it is a pretty in-depth process. The donors are screened, their medical background is checked, they have to have a physical, they have to pass some interviews, we do a background check, we do a psychological evaluation. We also check the sperm quality, that's very important. We check that pretty early on to ensure that they fit into the parameters of being a good sperm donor. So there are a lot of things that we screen them for. I really recommend reviewing that screening webinar if you are able to. But it is a very in-depth program. Once we have all the donors' information, all of their medical information that we've gathered, our medical team reviews it all to determine if they can be added to our program or not. But as I said, less than 1% of all who apply to become a donor in our program actually make it through and become a donor.
And then what about connecting with other families of the same donor group?
So that is where our family forums on our website come into play. Those are created so that you can connect with people who purchase the same donor as you, or there's general other forums too, but there are private ones that you only have approval to enter once you have a reported birth.
Okay. And what contact information are you given once a child reaches 18 and they are using an ID donor?
Once a child reaches 18 and they are registered in our ID program, that child donor conceived person would reach out to Fairfax Cryobank at that time, and then we would be able to confirm their information that they are indeed a donor conceived person from our cryobank, and then provide them with the contact information of the donor. I think the first one we're going to be contacting, first time we contact the donors to ensure what information we can we're able to provide. But we're able to provide the contact information, their name, their phone number, their email address. That way the donor conceived person is able to reach out to them.
And what if the laws change? Where are the IDs kept? Someone wants to know.
We do abide to the laws of that and are constantly trying to update our procedures to make sure that we're abiding to the law. But we do have their information on file. So we would be able to connect a donor conceived individual with the most up-to-date information at that time.
Okay. My insurance covers donor sperm. Can you provide the necessary paperwork to file a claim? And have you ever worked with an insurance company to secure payment through them?
Great question. So we do not work with insurance companies directly. We are able to provide copies of paid invoices to our clients. so that they are able to seek reimbursement from their insurance companies if they provide coverage.
Okay. And then I guess how many vials does it take to get pregnant?
That is a
Or
really
tries?
hard question to answer. It can take several tries to become pregnant, depending on the insemination procedure, your fertility, the timing, everything. Um, Generally, as a rule, we recommend clients purchasing 3 to 4 vials for pregnancy. We do expect it to take more than one time. Some clients are very lucky and get pregnant on the first try, but that's not the case with everybody.
Cool. And then I guess we have another question here. Well, let's see. Is it best to use the vials before, during, or after ovulation to increase the chances of pregnancy? And does the size of the vial matter?
Hmm. Um, I believe you should be using it during your ovulation, but again, check with your clinic or a medical professional for the best advice on when the best time to conceive is. You should be tracking your ovulation if you're working with a clinic, but again, they're going to be better able to answer that. The size of the vial, um, because we have different preparation types, those are for different medical procedures. For insemination, really depends on what insemination procedure you're going to be doing. But everybody's fertility is different, and every insemination procedure is different for a person. So I can't
Mhm.
really give you the best answer for that.
And the next question says, due to the fact that there is a waiting period for donations, clear testing, and the waiting period, would a customer service rep know if there are more vials coming to be available soon?
We are able to see if the donor is still actively participating or not. We can send a little bit more information, but we don't really get notified until the vials are actually released. So I've talked to clients on the phone and said, I don't know. And then 10 minutes later it gets released and had no idea, and that's pretty standard because it's completely dependent on our labs processing that blood work and being able to clear those vials for sale.
All right, we have a question about storage here. If I purchase 3 to 4 vials and store them with Fairfax Cryobank, is the price $45 a month per vial, or is it for the set of vials?
Great question. So it's a flat rate. It's 45 months flat, $45 per month flat. My goodness. And we also have prepaid options ranging from 6 months to 10 years.
And then how long do you recommend someone to give the selection process for their donor?
That is a great question. It really depends on what your timeline is for an insemination. If you have your insemination scheduled already, you already know when you need to have your vial by. But if you are just starting the process, I would give myself a little bit of time. If you find the donor that you match with that checks all the boxes for you, that's when I'd probably recommend being able to purchase as much as you're able to because our inventory can run out. Um, but we do offer saving storage to save the vials for you until you're ready to ship them. So that
Okay,
that is when that really comes into play.
I think we have time for one more question today. What is the number one factor people use to determine a donor is the best fit?
Oof, that's a hard question because I think it's so
Mhm.
individualized.
Right.
I've heard from clients that it's like a match, if when they know, they know. Some of them take a lot of time. It really depends on what you're looking for. You want to make sure your clinic or your medical team is approving that donor as well. Um, but it's really hard to say what creates that match for you. But I would take my time and review all the information that's available with the donors and try to pinpoint what's the most important to me. Like we said,
Mhm.
making a list of characteristics of what I or you really want to have in a donor.
Sounds good. Thank you so much, Doreen. There were a few questions we were not able to answer today, so please send them to info@fairfaxcryobank.com, and they're happy to help you follow up.
All right, thank you, everybody. Again, you can use that coupon code for the full access on our website.